luminaries united in opposition to a Donald Trump presidency. I haven't even covered the supposedly conservative business leaders, the academics, the entertainment figures who opposed him. And despite this avalanche of opposition, despite the Billy Bush tapes, despite the wreck of his personal life, despite the jokes, despite the investigations, despite the rumors of Russian mingling on Election Day, everyday Americans lined up to vote for Trump. I mean, lined up. Lines were stretching in many cases 5 to 10 times longer than a normal election. People who'd never voted before turned out to vote. The man who didn't appeal to the supposedly conservative and Republican elitists who opposed him and that man resonated deeply with the actually conservative and actually Republican regular folks around the country. Because if you punch a clock for a living, if you wear steel-toe boots or come home with dirt under your fingernails, you probably don't care who Lindsey Graham thinks should be president. Because when the cards are on the table, we learned Lindsey Graham was playing for the other team. And so was the quote-unquote Republican Bush family. And so were the hundreds and hundreds of Washington, D.C. insiders who were able to exist for decades cross-dressing as Republicans. They weren't, of course, Republicans. But deep down, we already knew that. We knew that because we kept voting them into office every 2 to 4 years, only to be stabbed in the back every time it was time for them to actually be Republicans and be conservatives. And that's the beginning of the greatest lesson of the 2016 election. It peeled back the curtain. Specifically, Donald Trump peeled back the curtain. His election let us see that these people were never on our side in the first place. It was a grift. It was always a grift. It had never been real.
What is a grift?
Presidents, governors, senators, congressmen, political appointees, conservative media, it was all a lie. It was never real. We normal folks spent decades participating in rigged primaries where we voted for our guy if we could locate one on the ballot. And when our guy inevitably lost the rigged primary election, we were told to be good little conservative cattle and go vote for the lesser of two evils. So we pulled levers for Bush, we pulled levers for McCain, we pulled levers for Romney, we pulled levers for Dole. And for hundreds of other people cosplaying as conservatives because we were told that's how the Republican Party worked. You vote for your preferred candidate in the primary, and then you rally around the nominee in November, no matter what, no exceptions. And for the most part, we did it year after year, decade after decade. And then our guy finally won the primary. And they didn't rally around him. Instead, they voted for Clinton, and then Biden, and then Harris. They voted for anyone but Trump. They opposed Trump every step of the way. They cheered hoax investigations. They amplified fake news stories. They did everything they told us not to do. What we learned in 2016 is that there never were two parties, at least not in the traditional sense of Republican and Democrats. There was one party, the uniparty. And it didn't serve conservatives or liberals back home. It served them, the insiders. It served the politicians and their families. It served the political appointees. It served the media figures. To clarify, you and I are not the uniparty. We're the ones they make fun of at their cocktail parties. We're the ones they laugh at while they're crafting their latest iteration of how to ruin our lives and the lives of our grandchildren. We're the ones they despise. Most elections, the uniparty gets what it wants. It gets what it wants in the primaries, and then it has two uniparty candidates squaring off in November. This allows Republicans and Democrats to act like they oppose each other. It allows them to say ugly things about each other and promise us this is the most important election in history. You know, rinse and repeat every 2 to 4 years. But in 2016, the plan was ruined because Donald Trump won the primary. The plan was to unite the uniparty in opposition to Trump while maintaining some veneer of partisanship while doing so. Oh, John McCain, he's not a uniparty member. No, he's just principled. He can't bear the thought of a man like Trump sitting on the Resolute desk. But that's not at all what it was. Trump's campaign was a gift. It was a gift to us. By winning the primary, he pulled back the curtain and let us see the uniparty in action. We learned, for example, that Ben Shapiro and Barack Obama, they were on the same uniparty team. So were George Bush and Rachel Maddow. So were Lindsey Graham and Hillary Clinton. Rinse and repeat over and over with everyone I named on that list earlier. They're all on the same team with the overwhelmingly vast majority of the rest of the D.C. insiders. Unfortunately, Donald Trump has been in office so long that many had kind of forgotten the most important lesson of 2016. We're 11 years past that. Too many had forgotten the uniparty controls nearly everything. Not Donald Trump, certainly not we the people. Most people seem to act as if they forgot they got a good peek behind that curtain back in 2016. Mark Levin, for example, is still on the air. Mark Levin is still parading around as a model Republican. So is Ben Shapiro, for that matter. Lindsey Graham is up for re-election soon. And the same average, everyday South Carolinians he actually despises, they're going to line up overwhelmingly to re-elect him. And it's not hard. I mean, I'm giving people the benefit of the doubt here. It's not hard to see why people join the uniparty. It certainly has its advantages. Elections are easy when you're in the uniparty. You don't get a serious primary challenge. You win re-election 98+% of the time. You get media puff pieces written about you. You get invites to all the major network TV interviewers. You get standing ovations wherever you go. You become a household name. This isn't just for elected officials. This is for political appointees. This is for people in entertainment. This is for people in media. Life is easy when you're part of the uniparty. The only cost to being in the uniparty, what's the only cost? Your integrity, your soul.
Hello traders! In this video, we're going to introduce the Smart AI Indicator, which we developed in partnership with OpenAI.
The death of Charlie Kirk has peeled that curtain back again. It's not the same dynamics we had in 2016. It's admittedly a little murkier. Maybe a little foggier is a better way to describe it. But we see the same dynamics playing out. Whatever it is, the gauntlet has once again been thrown down. The line has been drawn. If you want to be on the side of the uniparty, you'll accept the Fed slop narrative related to Charlie Kirk, and you'll go back to the mainstream talking points. You'll repeat them. If you play this game, if you support the uniparty narrative that a 20-year-old with a furry roommate planned and pulled off the assassination of a major political figure in just over a week, the benefits of the uniparty will be bestowed upon you. You'll, of course, have to ignore basic things like physics, logic, rational thought, and the mounting evidence that the uniparty Fed slop narrative is incomprehensibly unsupportable. But you'll be remembered when the dust settles. You'll book the bigger guests. You'll be booked on bigger shows. The money will come flowing. Give it time. Be patient. The kingdom will be yours. If you oppose the uniparty, by oppose it, I mean you're asking questions about things that don't make sense. Like, can a neck stop a 30-06 round? Can a bullet supposedly take wild turns inside of the neck, going up and down and sideways all at once? Why are certain camera angles being clipped and edited? Why are witnesses being intimidated into silence? Why is TPUSA doing, everything they're doing? Why does a 20-year-old text his boyfriend like Humphrey Bogart? And why would a really smart kid who intends to get away with a crime take his cell phone to the scene of the crime and then use that cell phone to admit to the crime to everyone he knows within 33 hours? If you ask any of those questions, you'll be called crazy. You're divisive. You're evil. You're schizophrenic. Could be worse. And while the curtain is pulled back a little bit, take notes this time. Don't count on Wikipedia to log everything for you. Make a note of who is desperately trying to push this uniparty Fed slop narrative and who isn't. Keep that list for later reference. Those are your teams. Those pushing, and I mean truly pushing the Tyler Robinson narrative, those guys play for the other team. All right, here we go. So that's the opening statement today. What have I missed? What have I missed? Oh, I want to go to a little recap from last night because I want to set up Charlie Kirk discussing being labeled as an anti-Semite by his buddies, by his donors, as far back as 2023. 2023. This is not something that is new to the Charlie Kirk investigation. So first thing I want to do is I want to point out what I discussed last night. I want to share a little small clip. It's about 25 seconds. For those that weren't here last night, those of you who, for whatever reason, on Sunday or whatever, you're not watching podcasts late at night. I want you to watch this, and I want you to then keep this in mind in context for what we're going to share in just a second. So here is what we covered last night. Charlie Kirk, my good friend. Actually, I've never met the man. Take it away.
Sure. But the fact is now Bibi and the Israeli hard right government has a mandate. I got to be careful the way I say this. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Yep. I mean,
So this was what we covered last night. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. This is something they're trying to do. This is what they're going to try to do. They're going to try to ethnically cleanse Gaza. Well, I asked the question, where does this notion come from? How long had Charlie been this way? Because this was 5 days. 5 days after the October 7th attacks. Only 5 days. Somebody emails me and says, hey, it's not as if he didn't mention this. He published something in November of 2023. This is November 30th of 2023, where he references being labeled an anti-Semite over these allegations. Can I blow that up? Oh, yeah. So this is Telegram. I did not know this. I knew Telegram existed, but I did not know this existed. Charlie Kirk says, I was smeared as an anti-Semite for even broaching this topic. Smeared as an anti-Semite. Now he says, turns out I was onto something. So this is November of 2013, and he's admitting, hey, this looks so bad, and anytime I talk about it, people are saying that it makes me an anti-Semite. What is it? The New York Times. This is a New York Times story he's quoting. What does the New York Times story say? Israeli officials obtained Hamas's battle plan for the October 7th terrorist attack more than a year before it happened. Which means the battle plan, the battle plan attack that Hamas used to do the October 7th, 2023 attacks, the New York Times reported, and Charlie Kirk seemed to concur that this looked legitimate to him, that if Israeli officials obtained that battle plan more than a year before October 7th. This would be like the United States getting Barack Obama's battle plan for September 11th, 2001. And they would have had it in the summer of 2000. This is before we even called things 20. The summer of 2000. If we got a document in the summer of 2000 that said, hey guys, I think a great idea would be to hijack some planes and fly them into the World Trade Center, maybe hit the Pentagon, maybe go somewhere through Pennsylvania, not sure where we'll head yet, they might shoot us out of the sky. Oh, and while we're at it, let's strike the buildings in just such a way that Building 7 comes down at the same time. It'll be amazing. We'll have so much fun. We'll have so much fun. But this is him saying, I'm on to something. Turns out I was on to something. Now, this is important to me for a couple of reasons. One is, I don't know if you've seen the beef going back and forth with Ian Carroll and Nick Fuentes. But Nick Fuentes goes to Ian Carroll. I don't want to play it because it just turns into too many clips. But Fuentes goes and he posts in response to something Ian Carroll said. He says, Charlie Kirk was riding Israel's jock, basically, up until the last second. Up until the very last second. Well, we're going to cover tonight. Is that necessarily true? Is that necessarily true? Because I have him 5 days after the October 7th attack saying, yeah, they're going to ethnically cleanse Gaza. I have him a month after the October 7th attack saying, hey, guys, they knew it was coming and they let it happen.
Hey, believers, those who know that we're here for more than just survival, this is for you. You've heard the phrase, own nothing and be happy. They said it was about...
That doesn't sound very pro-Israeli to me. I'm old school, admittedly. I'm old school. And so I want to play a clip actually from tonight. I was watching this like 30 minutes ago. I want to play this clip from tonight because it gets into the question we've all been asking. If Tyler Robinson actually did all this on his own, if the Fed slop narrative is true, if nobody else had anything to do with it, why is Charlie Kirk terrified the day before he passes away? Because according to Candace Owens, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen this, she went live an hour ago, but according to Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk said this the night before he passed away.
And what I can tell you is we also received a tip from somebody within Turning Point USA that the night before he died, I know for a fact he messaged a donor and he messaged somebody at Turning Point USA. What I did about planning and protecting, of course, I'm not saying that you should run and dump everything that you have into gold. That
Hold,
would be as
please.
misguided
Hold, please. Hold, please. What is that? Oh, it's probably because I had it on the live. Oh, you know what I'm going to have to do? You guys are going to have to bear with me for a second. I froze it on the live when she said it. And so now I've got to see, have they transcribed it yet so I can find it? If not, I'll just tell you what she said. They've not. Here's what she said. She said the night before Charlie Kirk passed away. So this is September 10th, he passes away. So September 9th, Tuesday, September 9th. I think it was Tuesday. He messages not only a donor that says, I think they are going to kill me. He goes to his chief security guard, Dan Flood, and asks him, or tells him, I think they're going to kill me. Now, that's a source she says she has from a TPUSA insider. I cannot verify that source. I'm going on what she's saying. But it's consistent. I do believe it is consistent with something we talked about last night, because this morning, George Webb gets on a live stream and says, hey, I've heard that Dan Flood has now been removed from TPUSA. And I don't know whether that was yesterday or the day before, or whether he's just going off of Dan Flood's been removed from the website, so we know he's been removed from TPUSA. I don't know which. But if you remember what we covered last night, you remember that? And then you remember how you saw the signal from Texas A&M at the same time? Yeah, it doesn't surprise me if Dan Flood was removed last night after that show. That would not surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Did I call him Dan Flub? I saw somebody say that. Or did he just flub it so bad? And so there's this rumor that Dan Flood has been removed. I don't know if that's true or not. I do know he's not on the website. And as we talked about last night, there's only 3 possibilities, and all 3 are terrible. All 3 are awful. Option 1, he's been fired and we haven't been given an explanation. That's terrible. His main asset died on his watch. If that guy was removed and we weren't told about it, that's a horrific outcome. Option 2. Option 2 is they're chicken, you know what, and they pulled him down off the website to avoid the heat. That's not a good option either. That's not a good option either. Option 3 is he quit and you didn't tell us. But there's no matter what, no matter which of those 3 options happened, no matter whether he was fired or whether they just took him down off the website because they don't want the heat, or whether he quit, we're owed some kind of an explanation. Because you've got people out there like Nick Fuentes, who's going around shoveling the Fed slop narrative and it's just shovel, shovel, shovel. Who's attacking Ian when Ian says, hey, bro, why aren't you asking what's going on with Charlie Kirk? The answer, if you're Nick, is I don't care about what happened to Charlie Kirk. I mean, I would have accepted that. I would have accepted that. That would have been a perfectly acceptable thing. That would have been a perfectly acceptable explanation. But to go out there and say, no, instead, I believe it's the Fed slop and I'm just going to shovel, shovel, shovel the Fed slop, I just refuse to accept that. I just refuse to accept it. And so there's this conservative catfight going on right now. I think this conservative catfight is a targeted attack trying to take down those of us on this side. Because you have the uniparty Fed slop that we set up in the opening statement.
Before we dive further into the episode, I've recently come to learn that a lot of founders and marketers don't quite know how to look up
You have the uniparty Fed slop, and they're all having a Fed slop-asm, right? They're going on each other's shows. They're going on each other's shows, and they're just patting each other on the back. And I think Tyler Robinson did it too. Oh, I think Tyler Robinson did it more. No, I think Tyler Robinson did it more. And there's just all this back slapping going on, and there's all this happiness, and they just couldn't be any happier. And everybody on the other side looking into this, wondering, is this what they say it is? Everybody on our side is being labeled as crazy. But that wasn't working. They were losing. They were losing that battle. So now you see what's happening. Now you have effective people being targeted. Targeted from within and targeted from without. So they send the Fed slop people in to go directly after Candace. She's crazy. Why? If Candace was being effective? If Candace was being effective, no one would have mentioned Candace. I mean, if she wasn't being effective. If she was truly making an idiot out of herself, they would just let her go. And then you got Ian. So Ian's being effective. Ian looks out and says, hey, Nick, why aren't you, is this not a story that interests you? And instead of Nick saying, yeah, I'm just not interested in it. Sorry, I'm covering all this other stuff. Instead, he goes and he gets attacked. And the same thing's happening when I talked about the baseball opening today. The same thing's happening today. If somebody takes your show and steals it for like a month or two, and you go back and you say, hey, here's where I did my show, and here's their show the next day, it's the same show. And you email them and say, and I've done this with several people, email them, just say, hey, I don't care that you're doing it, but just, throw me a bone. Like just say, hey, Barron said this. I noticed George Webb when he covers things. Barron said. Ian when he covers things. Barron said. When I cover things, Ian said. Ian said. George Webb said. Candace said. That's it. That's all. And when you email somebody and say that, then they go full Tim Pool. That's an op. That's an op. I'm sorry. That's an op. We don't get to go on camera crying about it. You don't get to go on camera crying about it. And if you want people to be able to contact you privately, open an email address. Open an email address. All right. Speaking of conservative catfight. Speaking of conservative catfight, I want to go to let me say this. I said maybe a couple of weeks ago, I started talking about the TPUSA people and mentioning that they all seem to have certain characteristics. You guys remember that? I started talking about the certain characteristics all these people had. That they all acted a certain way, they all looked a certain way. They all had certain rumors floating around. Well, I'm not the only one that noticed. Because Milo went on Tucker, what was this, a week ago? Earlier this week? And absolutely filleted right-wing Republican commentary. I'm going to play a clip of that. I'm not going to play the Milo clip from the Tim Pool show for a couple of reasons. One is I thought it was way over the top. It's one thing to say someone's a Flintstone, they look a little happy. It's another thing to just fillet them from the bottom of their foot to the top of their head. He's free to do it. I don't, more power to him. But, and it was just a little graphic. This is kind of more of a family show than Tim Pool's show. But I want to play this clip real quick because it sets up real quickly the next point I'm going to make here.
Does, the incidence of closeted homosexuality on the right is like overwhelming. It's like way above what you would imagine is statistically probable.
3 straight guys on the right. It's like Alex, you, and I have a floating wild card just in case I forgot anybody.
I'd like to claim the wild card. I didn't really. Can I get that wild card? What a freeze frame. I apologize. I would never do that to someone on purpose.
What else is there? I mean, maybe the Tates, but who else is there?
What is that? I don't understand.
There's such a long relationship, a long happy marriage between conservative politics and homosexuality, and it's easy to joke about it and say, oh, it's all of the bells and smells and frocks of the religious dimension to it all, or it's the pomp and circumstance of power, or it's but
the New Testament is really tough on homosexuality, so I don't see it as certainly not a Christian thing.
It's not a Christian thing, but
all right, so this was I don't want to play the whole clip. If you want, Tucker puts on a great show. You can go watch it. But I wanted to set it up because when I first started talking about the TPUSA people, I made a comment about this is how right-wing politics works. And if you go look at all the people, I don't know if you guys remember this, but if you go look at all the people who staff all these right-wing organizations, all the congressional offices, even the congressmen themselves, what you'll find out is it's pretty gay, like overall. It's pretty gay. Right-wing politics and left-wing politics, but shockingly high percentage on right-wing politics considering the kind of the planks in the platform. And I had someone reach out to me by email and say,
the platform.
Is this fair of you to say? Do you really know this? And I'll say how I noticed it.
So if I turned off Ada tomorrow, I would need to double my support teams.
My business partner used to be gay. His name was Jack. He was fantastic. He was a great guy. He passed away a couple of years ago. He had a stroke and he was elderly and overweight and diabetic. It didn't end well for him. But and we were on the radio together off and on for a while. He was just a great guy. But I was asking him about growing up because he was quite a bit older than I was. He graduated high school in the mid 70s. I graduated in the late 90s. And I asked him, I said, what was it like growing up gay then? Because while we were we had a political consulting firm together. While we were working together, this was kind of the move. Massachusetts legalizes gay marriage, and then the Supreme Court comes out and legalizes gay marriage. And so the country is sort of changing. And I was just curious, and I asked people a lot of questions. I said, Jack, what was it like growing up gay in the 70s? And he said, it's totally different than it is now. He said, for example, it was his position that's how all these offices got staffed. He said you would find out someone was gay. They were terrified someone else would find out about it. And so you had to take care of each other. And for some reason, politics was like a vacuum because typically gay people don't have large families. You don't have 6, 7, 8 kids. You only have 1 or 2 kids most of the time. So you can work the long hours. You can travel a lot. You can go out doing all the drinking. There's drinking and drugs and all this stuff. And then you get these jobs and they pay really well. And so you want to reward other people with similar jobs. This is kind of, he was telling me, this was the genesis of how this came to be when he was coming up in politics in the 70s and 80s, 90s. And he worked all over politics in D.C. and Alabama and Texas. I think he worked for George Bush when he was governor of Texas at one point. But he was saying, hey, you would identify somebody and you would say, hey, you're gay. You don't want to tell anybody. I work in politics. I've got this great outfit over here. We can hire you. We can pay you. We'll take care of you. You're good with us. And it sort of developed that way. And then it sort of got passed down generationally to where that's still how all these offices are staffed. That was his position. That was his position. Well, I have been totally unable to look at politics any other way because when I look at politics, I notice the Blake Neffs and Mikey McCoys of the world. And the other thing is, he said, what you do is you bring them in young, you overpay them, you give them a title that they didn't earn, and then they're on the hook for life, like that you own them for life. And so I start looking at politics and I see these people, they're 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 years old, and they're getting these unbelievable political positions, 22, 23, 24 years old. They get these unbelievable political positions. They get appointed to the chiefs of staff of high-end organizations. They get appointed to high-end lobbying outfits, making tons of money. And I think that's what Milo's talking about. I don't know because he grew up British. He came over, I think, to the United States. I'm guessing here. I don't know his whole bio. 20s, 30s, maybe. He wasn't gay in the United States in the political arena in the 70s. He didn't see how it kind of formed and was brought up. But once you see it, I've had so many people that I've talked to about this. Once you see it, you cannot unsee it. You will see it absolutely everywhere you look. It's the blue truck. It's the blue truck. You think no one has a blue truck? I'm going to get a blue Ford F-150. I've never seen a blue Ford F-150. You go buy a blue Ford F-150. Guess what you're going to see every day for the rest of your life? A blue Ford F-150. You had never considered a blue Ford F-150, so you didn't even think to look for them. But once you consider it and once you start looking for them, you'll see it everywhere. And it's not that they don't exist. Blue F-150s do exist. And that's the same thing with the people who are staffing all of these organizations. And I dare say there is merit to this beef Milo has with all these other people. I don't know that for a fact. Never joined in on it with the whoever it was he was beefing with over the last couple of days. Couldn't think of his name. I can't think of it now. I'm just not going to say it. But this is the what's the word I'm looking for? This is the this is the hidden little secret. We used to say in our office, because, I mean, you figure it out and then you encounter people, we'd say, we're not saying it's a gay cabal running all the politics at every level, but if it was a cabal, this is exactly what it would look like. Not saying it is, but if it was, this is exactly what it would look like. And so I bring all that up just to point out, hey, I don't think Milo's way off base here. And we have some history for this. For example, I'm going to show you a story. A lot of you may not remember this. You may be too young, or you may just have forgotten your history. Do you remember a guy named Dennis Hastert? Dennis Hastert was the Speaker of the House of the United States. He was the Speaker of the House of the United States. He was accused, made it too big. He was accused of sexually abusing young boys when he was a teacher and wrestling coach back in Illinois. Do you think he made it all the way to the Speaker of the House without anyone knowing that existed? No. No, of course not. People absolutely knew this was the case. People absolutely knew he had an affinity for males. People probably absolutely knew, I can't say this definitively, but they probably absolutely knew that he had an affinity for young males. They probably absolutely knew that they had caught him with young males. That's the Epstein model, baby. That's it. That is what it is. It's not just him. Do you remember this guy, Mark Foley?
Wow, look at this. 94% of people believe company culture is important to an organization's success. Frankly, I have no idea what the other 6% are thinking. You know, usually when people look up ways to improve culture, they look for best practice.
Mark Foley. Now, I'm going after the elected officials right now because they put their name on a ballot. Late 2006, he was soliciting emails and suggestive messages from teenage boys. Now, you know, maybe he has a good defense. My point is, somebody knew this was taking place and elevated him to positions of power. That's my biggest problem with it. I have a problem in and of itself that it's happening. But the bigger problem is, this is the political capital that people are using to get ahead. You mentioned, someone in the comments mentioned Mike Johnson. There was an allegation about Mike Johnson not terribly long ago. I don't know if it has any merit. But there was an allegation about Mike Johnson not terribly long ago. It goes on and on and on. Larry Craig with his wide stance in the thing. No, I'm not gay bashing. This is not gay bashing. I don't care what these people do. My point is, this is the way politics works. I'm supporting Milo and others who are going out there saying, yeah, this is what happens. And Tucker, who say, yeah, this is what happens. This is how it works. This is politics. This gets back to the uniparty process. This is my point of my opening statement. The uniparty doesn't care because the uniparty didn't elect Dennis Hastert as the Republican Speaker of the House because Dennis Hastert had Republican family values. They didn't elect Dennis Hastert to the Republican Speaker of the House because he was super conservative Dennis Hastert. No, that has nothing to do with it. That's not it at all. They supported him for Speaker of the House. He was a particularly unremarkable person, if you remember. Have you ever seen a picture of Dennis Hastert? We're not talking like a slick politician. You think Speaker of the House, you think Mike McCarthy. Hell, even Mike Johnson, he's at least got a haircut. Have you ever seen Dennis Hastert? I'll just show you the whole Google Images page. I'm not going to try to pick out a bad one. I'll let you see all the bad ones. Does this look, does this look like the genius politician, the evil mad genius? No, he was compromised. That's why he was the Speaker of the House. That's 100% why he was the Speaker of the House. That's my point. I think that's the point ultimately Milo's making. And I think that's the point of, to me, a lot of the explanation for what is happening in the conservative politics right now. The catfighting, the infighting. I think there are a lot of people who are infighting because they are controlled. They're infighting because they're controlled. If they are serving up uniparty slop, there's a possibility, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they're controlled. That is the point. That is the point. Let's see here. Someone asked me if I would show the Blake Neff email. So I'm going to show it now. I didn't know how, I'm not fancy on computers. I didn't know well how to redact this, so I just dropped it in a Word document. I don't have time to mess with all this stuff. This is an email exchange. I promise you it's word for word. I've just blacked out what I think is identifying information, or deleted it when I couldn't get it blacked out. This is somebody emailing on December 3rd to Blake Neff. You need to get better advisors, better writers. Candace didn't become the #1 global podcast because we were all leftist Antifas. Apparently, he was blaming us for being leftist Antifas. We're the opposite, and we all immediately felt and still feel there are holes in the official narrative. And then goes on, I'm a senior citizen, 3-time Trump MAGA voter, born-again Christian. I feel like you're mocking me when you mock Candace. Repent and apologize to us in our millions. Now, what in the world do you think was Blake's response? Hi, redacted. I meant exactly what I said. The behavior of Candace's fans has been utterly disgusting. They act with the same callous hatefulness as Antifa. I know because I've gotten to directly witness the behavior of both these past 3 months. I will not apologize. If you want to side with them, that is your choice. But if you do, then you don't love Charlie. Banish the thought. This reminds me of like sports fans. If you don't support our coach, you're not a real fan. If you don't support the big, beautiful bill, you don't really like Trump. If you don't support bombing Iran, you're not MAGA. You love the rush you get from ripping apart grieving people. Blake, just don't respond. Just don't respond. You guys have been so quiet about so much. A senior citizen, 3-time MAGA voter finally provoked your interest enough to respond? That's where you draw the line? No. I'm not going to respond if they suggest that my good friend Mikey might have been in on the murder. No, I'm not going to suggest. I'm above responding. I'm not going to give heed to your allegations. I'm not going to respond when they wonder why our tech guy was there when he's never there. I am not going to respond. But a 3-time senior citizen Trump voter comes up to you, and that's where you say, that's it. I've had enough. I cannot handle anymore. I must address this outrage. Which outrage, Blake? Are you talking about the outrage where they're accusing Mikey of running off on him while he's dying? No, I'm not going to address that outrage. Oh, what about the outrage where they chucked him in the van like a side of beef instead of getting help from the medical professionals who were present? No, I'm not going to address that outrage. Oh, well, what about the outrage where they're suggesting that they're hiding evidence of a murder by taking down the cameras? Are you going to address that outrage? No, I'm not going to address that outrage. Well, what outrage are you addressing, Blake? A 3-time MAGA voter, senior citizen. I've had enough. I've got to address it. I've had enough. She did respond, called him son. I thought that's always nice. Throw that in there. You don't know me, son. Charlie knows who loves him. Let's stop both sides. Let's stop putting thoughts and words in Charlie's mouth post-death. And so does Christ, whom Charlie so loved. You're attacking your own. This is the key. This is why I thought it was worth sharing tonight. This inside attacking has to stop. Matt Walsh said he wanted to stop the inside attacking, and they totally sidelined him. The algorithms used to push me Matt Walsh gear like 7 times a day. I would get 7 Matt Walsh clips a day. I don't get any anymore. Matt Walsh used to be, I would get advertisements for Am I a Racist or What is a Woman? I would get them 25 times a day. I don't get any anymore. Matt Walsh has been effectively sidelined. Why? Because he said, hey, let's not attack each other for a little while. Let's just see how that goes. Let's see how that goes. Maybe one day Matt Walsh will grow the pair we all believe he might have somewhere and leave the Daily Wire, and we'll see the real Matt Walsh, like we're seeing the real Brett Cooper now. She's gone. I don't want to shortcut this email because she did say a few other things. Mothers, fathers, veterans, we're not evil. We're acting in good faith, looking for the whole truth. I'll pray for you as you face her questions. Remember, she's asking on behalf of many, many good Americans and sincere Christians around the world. But that's it. So there is a breaking point for TPUSA. There absolutely is a breaking point for TPUSA. But the breaking point is not answering questions about the actual murder of Charlie Kirk. That is not the breaking point. The breaking point is senior citizens out there leaned over on a cane. That's the issue right there. Okay. Last little piece I want to get to here, and then I've got a couple extraneous stories I want to clear up from the last few days. It wasn't terribly long ago when Candace mentioned, it was a couple of days ago, mentioned a guy named Emmanuel Beerer. And I, doing what I sometimes do, I jumped on and I thought, well, this is a new name. We've not heard of this. Let me see what's out there in the realm of Emmanuel Beerer. So I jumped on Google Trends. I jumped on Google Trends because a lot of times when I'm doing these Google Trends searches, because they have a tendency to disappear information off of them, I'll record me running through it. But I ran through it, and the reason I'm showing you this video, I ran through this the first time. There's no sound, so you don't have to worry about this. Pardon the close-up here. Oh, there we go. You'll notice here, I'll pause it. I spelled it Emmanuel with an E. And that's because in the news story she cited, it was Emmanuel with an E. That's weird because there's 2 of me right next to each other on the screen. But in the news story, it was Emmanuel with an E. Well, lo and behold, I kept getting people saying, hey, I think it's Emmanuel with an I. So I looked it up, Emmanuel with an I, and did another search. There it is, Emmanuel with an I. I thought, why would there be more than one spelling of Emmanuel? How did I get it wrong? Well, I went and I pulled the actual article that she was showing. And sure enough, in that article, it was Emmanuel with an I. With an E, rather. Emmanuel with an E. But the actual Emmanuel Beer is not Emmanuel with an E. It's Emmanuel with an I. Well, this is a weird thing. I didn't know what she was asking for. I didn't know what she thought they would be. I was confused, so I thought, let me just run through and see what we can find out there. Here's that original news story. I think this is a fun little walk down a lane showing you how this works. Well, I'll blow it up big, so we're all watching the same thing together. Here we go. This is the original news story she was talking about.
First of what was happening.
I hear this loud sound and I'm like, that wasn't what I thought it was, is it? I was like, no, this can't be happening right now.
Let me show you something that makes me furious every time I see it. This is a real tax return from someone making $284,972.
So that's the only clip, honestly, in the whole news story. I don't know why this drew her attention. But this is the day of the shooting, but this is not in Provo. This is not in Orem. This is an hour away in Salt Lake City, allegedly. And I think that's what caught her attention. Hey, why are they interviewing this guy an hour away in Salt Lake City? So is there anything more to this story? I don't know. But a very astute reader to the listener to the program, or viewer of the program, I have to get used to the what we're calling it now. A very astute viewer to the program noticed something weird on Emmanuel Beer's LinkedIn page. There are, in fact, 2 Emmanuel Beer LinkedIn pages. And if you notice, the 2 pages have different people or different pictures. Maybe it's the same person, but different, 2 different pages, 2 different pictures. And if you go through, and this is also interesting, look what recommended post jumps up when you look at Emmanuel Beer. It's a post with some language I didn't recognize. It turns out it's Hebrew. So when you search Emmanuel Beer, you get related posts that pop up in Hebrew. I'm sure that's just a coincidence. But when you go look, he has a very interesting work history. He works with computers, he works with visual arts and all this stuff. And he, I can't show the resume. We have his resume, but I can't show it because if you show the resume, then you're going to out who the guy is. I mean, it's got his home address on it and everything else. But what it turns out is he had some really high-end, the person who emailed me is a tech recruiter. I can't remember if she told me I could use her name or not, so I'm not going to. But let's say first name Erin. She's a tech recruiter. And Erin says, hey, I'm looking at this, and the reason it jumped out at me is because I'm a recruiter in this area, and he has too much experience before he went to college for his degree. Way too much experience, like high-end jobs working in this field well before he goes to the University of Utah to get his degree. And then she starts naming places he worked, and this is why I can't show you the resume. I don't want to out the, you know who the guy is. You can go look him up. And he made himself public by going on to the, doing the interview on PBS. But I'm not going to put his phone number up, on the screen. But he has all this experience, and it just doesn't add up. So I don't know if this guy's somebody or not. I don't know why Candace was asking about it. But once again, there's some weird component to this in that this is a college campus, and they run out to interview not college students, but a 38-year-old software developer in Salt Lake City. That's who they interview about the shooting. You would think they could find a 19, 20, 21, 22-year-old college freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior and get their impression, but we have almost none of those. We have almost no public interviews with college students from UVU. Almost none. Instead, what we have are all these adults going on the record. All these adults going on the record. So I do want to show one more thing. This is interesting to me. This is from the Life is Driving video. This was, I did not catch this the first time. I did not catch this the first time. And I wouldn't have caught it, except when the Emmanuel Beer piece came up, you could see in the clip it happening, and somebody else picked up on that, put it on Twitter, and I see it on Twitter, and someone says, why is this guy directing traffic? So I retweeted it. I said, yeah, I've never seen this before. Why is this guy directing traffic? Check it out. You can see it here. I found the video where they got it from. It's the Life is Driving video. But this is bizarre. I've never been to a shooting, obviously, but I've been a lot of public places. Sometimes public places where people leaving quickly. I've never seen people turn into traffic directors.
And we had it, so it's positioned above the tent, so it would be in the camera.
There's your gunshot. This gives you an idea how quick it is. So this will give you an idea how quick afterwards it is. So right now everybody's just leaning down. Nobody's running off yet.
There's been a shooting. We heard shots.
Now they start to run. Watch how quickly people start directing traffic, and watch where they're standing.
We heard shots. You guys okay? Okay, love you. Be safe. Okay, be safe. Bye. Apparently there's been a shooting. I don't know who's been...
All right. We are 35 seconds after the shooting. The shooting was in 1919. This is 1954. You see this gigantic flagpole, or this gigantic light pole here. Do you see right to the right of it, right at the very bottom of the screen, the lowest part of the bush here, about a third of the way from the right? You see the guy standing in the bush? Well, there's been a lot of discussions about people standing in the bushes. Here's a guy standing in the bush. Look directly in front of the bush. See where the little squares popped up? Look directly below that. There's a guy in a white long sleeve shirt and a backpack standing in front of that bush where this man is actually standing in the bush, and he's directing traffic. Soon, another guy will come and stand next to this light pole and start directing traffic. Pay attention to this. I'm going to turn the sound off because it's just too loud in my ears. So you see guy down here. You see this guy right under this square right here that I just pulled up? That square right there, right below there. You see this guy in the white shirt directing traffic? Watch the guy next to the light pole. He's also directing traffic. Guys, this is 35, 40 seconds after a shooting. Everybody is running in absolute panic and terror.
Want to learn how to clone yourself to make talking head content like this without actually filming anything? All you have to do...
Those dudes are directing traffic. Not only are they directing traffic, one of the dudes is standing directly in front of a bush with a man standing in it. That is not at all how people act in an emergency. Somebody on Twitter said, yes, we know the old fight, flight, or direct traffic response. It's fight or flight or direct traffic. Which one? Someone also in there suggested that purple tent is an awfully good angle for the shot. I don't know. That might be a bridge too far. That might be a bridge too far. Whether that tent also is a good angle for the shot. I don't know about that, but I've never seen a shooting where immediately within 35 seconds you've got two people directing traffic and somebody directing traffic in front of a guy standing in a bush. That's the first I've ever heard. It's the first time I've ever heard it. All right, we're going to do a short show tonight because I went 4 hours plus last night. I cannot do it again. I cannot do 4 more hours. Not because of my health. I would love to do 4 hours. I promised my family I would not do 4 hours. And I came on 30 minutes early so that I wouldn't do 4 hours. But I did want to clean up a few of these stories from yesterday. I initially thought about just not doing a show today, but there were just things hanging out there that I just wanted to get cleaned up. And I wanted to address this in-party infighting. And I'm serious when I say this, guys. The in-party infighting has to stop. I am assuming anyone attacking within the faction, I'm assuming they're an op. I'm just assuming they're an op. Because they're trying to attack from outside, they can't do it. The Donald Trump forces have been winning, as Milo said on Tim Pool the other day, like 11 straight years. We've been winning elections. We've been winning congressional seats. We've been winning Senate seats. We've been winning presidencies. We've been winning governorships, state houses. They tried attacking us from the left. They failed. Then they set it up so that factions within the Republican Party were fighting. The Uniparty started fighting, I'll call it the Candace wing, right? She's an idiot. She's crazy. She's nuts. She's an anti-Semite. You know, Fuentes and Candace and Tucker. And they cannot run their numbers down. She's got the #1 podcast in America. Tucker's killing it. He's like #2. So they realized that wasn't working. And so now they're fighting within. Now they're fighting within the faction. They've got people cosplaying as being within your faction fighting you. And it's getting a little ridiculous. It's getting a little ridiculous. That's all I'm going to say about it. All right. Who won the big bet on hoodie color? Who had white? You guys can look back. I try to run them in a kind of the same order. I mean, they're a lot of order. If there's a theme or some reason I want to wear a different one, or something, maybe the same day or a couple of days before that, in North Carolina, I ran those searches. Go back and watch those episodes. It was like the first, second, maybe like the second or third, fourth episode I did on the Charlie Kirk trend. Go back and watch those, or I can do some more. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. I am concerned that, and that's why I started videoing these searches while I'm doing them. I'm not vain, and it's not that I want to pay for a bunch of storage because I have to pay to store it. It's that I started getting challenged when I would publish something, and then they would go back and say, well, that's not showing up anymore. I'm like, well, I can't help you. They're taking it down. They're actively removing the searches from the archive. And I can't help that. I don't control Google. I can't stop them from doing it. Thank you, Brandy. Super sticker. Thank you, Wally. Jack E. Thank you. Jackie? Amanda Van Allen Radiation Belt. A League of Our Own is one of my favorites. I just watched it. I have a baseball card signed by an original Rockford Peach. Now that's something special. That's something special. Broski, put up a QR code and send you seeds in my teeth, guys. I don't want to do that. That's not how I want to go. I want to show up at the pearly gates freshly flossed. But yeah, that looks weird. I'll be honest with you. Being 100% honest, just be Ian, not in the uniparty. Not feeding me uniparty slop. Does that mean I'm going to agree with every single person not in the uniparty on every issue? No. Like Bernie Sanders isn't in the uniparty. I don't agree with him on every issue. Don't agree with him on many issues. But I know I can trust him. That's the difference, you see? I know I can trust him. Hey, Byron. Is there someone new on the program named Byron? No, I'm the only one in here. Long-time listener, first-time caller, just want to say, awesome podcast. Thank you. You've listened so long, you thought my name was Byron. I kid, I don't really care. Check out Kurt Metzger. He's a comedian and Jimmy Dore's sidekick and conspiracy theory wizard. I like Jimmy Dore. I'm familiar with Kurt Metzger. And I watch a lot of Jimmy Dore clips. I don't watch a lot of Jimmy Dore shows, but I do watch a lot of things.
Can you be a travel advisor without quitting your 9-to-5? Actually, yes. We're Fora, the modern travel agent.
Going on there. I don't know what that is. Maybe he's done that in the past. Look, I would love to believe Charlie's alive. Like if you came to me today and said, it was all an act, Charlie's alive. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I don't know what that is. I just noticed something. He ate strawberries. Look, he's got a little fleck of red right there and 2 little black strawberry seed specks. He ate strawberries on his way in. I don't want to go out with strawberry seeds in my teeth, guys. I don't want to do that. That's not how I want to go. I want to show up at the pearly gates freshly flossed. But yeah, that looks weird. I'll be honest with you. Being 100% honest, just being a bro with you guys. I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. And I've asked many people. And it's right where the wound was. Now, it's possible the answer I got back from my friend is, no, I knew Charlie personally. He had a tick he did he would like pull on himself a lot. Like do that. Okay, I can accept that. If that's the legitimate answer, I can accept that. But I mean, I've never seen that before. It's bigger than his Adam's apple. Look at that. It's big. Like this is his Adam's apple over here. And this is like a giant channel under the English Channel. I don't know, maybe. I told you I'm 5% of the way there. I said that last night. I said I'm 5% of the way there. That he's still alive. In Valhalla somewhere. Isn't that right, Cash? 5% of the way that he's in Valhalla somewhere. You don't think Valhalla VFT had anything to do with scuttling him out of there, do you? I hope not. I'll watch that guy's podcast. I don't want to see him go to jail. I like old Valhalla. He's good people. He's good people. But yeah, I saw that. I don't know what it is either. TP knows the feds know about creative financial activity. Talking Points knows that the feds know about creative financial activity. That's why the Flintstones are pushing the fake story so hard. $5 the pup, please. My wife is questioning the horses. If it waves to cops on top of roof. So we're at 53:38. You said 54:06. So we got 6 seconds. I'm waiting with bated breath. Okay, I saw somebody there waving. Mild limp on top of roof. I didn't see anybody on the roof. Where are they? Oh, they're way the hell down there. Let's see it again. Okay, so I think he's thinking way over here on the left-hand side. See this roof bridge on the left-hand side that looks like it runs into that tree? Let's see if we see someone over there with a mild limp. I don't see a limp. I saw the wave. Yeah, I'm all for a good conspiracy theory, but I didn't see that one. Thank you for the donation. Edge. Dan is sus for no other reason than he worked for Benny. Add the circumstantial behavior, and he's a full traitor in my book. Oh, BB. I have heard people tell me that he worked for BB. I have not seen definitive bulletproof evidence. I've seen a picture of a very younger guy. Is that him? Because I have not seen any evidence where someone says, that's Dan Flood. Look, here's a citation. I just saw where there was a security guard for BB that kind of looked like a younger Dan Flood years ago. I admit that would be suspicious. Hold please, hold please. You crack me up. You should make a short clip just saying hold please. I don't realize I say it that often. I think I said this last show or two. I wanted to, if I didn't say it. Someone accused me of saying hold please a lot. I get dog hair all over me now. Someone accused me of saying hold please a lot, so I thought, I don't say hold please that much. I went back through several transcripts. It was like 30-something times I'd said it in the past 4 or 5 shows. So I apologize. It won't happen again. It'll happen again. Sorry, Baron, I misspelled your name earlier. I called you Byron. The best $5 you've ever spent, sir. I can assure you of that. I can promise you. I really appreciate it. Love Ian and Candace, but they both sound very lispy. I hate hearing saliva sounds. Huh? Your mic is better. You just know how to work it. You're way funnier. I mean, I'm granted, I'm very deaf. Booming.
This is Jen Spark. It's like having a full-stack team in one workspace. Watch this. Build me a...
Over the microphone. And I thought, oh, this is so uncomfortable. I grew up a talk radio junkie. I used to drive down the road, tip. Dimensional beings. I don't care what you need to keep it pulled up. So he's let's see. I'll go right to the crowd rushing. Let's pull it up and learn together. Look at the people to the left of the traffic director. Did you mean what you said when you said prime? Those prime are not. I don't even know what that means. Those prime are not. All right. Let me go forward just a hair because it is a little bit forward to this. Oh, no. Oh, now I've really screwed it up. All right, here we go. He'll go over the banister here in just a second. Oh, this is good. You remember the Brian Harpole? Interview questions where he said they didn't give us what we wanted, And one of the things they said they wanted was controlled access of the roof area behind Charlie Kirk. Those yellow caution tapes, that's police tape. They created a temporary criminal trespass zone and controlled the access. Like, that's literally what they asked for. Anyway, that's not the point we were making tonight. Let me go back. All right, now people are starting to skedaddle. It's been 13 seconds after the shot. We're up to just now 20 seconds after the shot. What a weird angle, man. I would love to believe all this is innocent. All right. Look, so we got a guy directing traffic down here, right under this square that I just pulled up. Let me get your comment out of the way. Look at the people to the left of the traffic director. Oh, I pulled it back up. I think he's talking about those people? No? I mean, there's a guy standing in the bush. What in the hell is up with this bush? All day, from an hour or two before the event until literally people are fleeing the scene, there's someone standing in the bush. I've been to a lot of public events. I've never seen someone stand in a bush. This is the only time, and it's been hours of bush standing. People standing to the left. Yeah, I think they're talking about the people in front of that tent. Yeah, they did not look very. It's hard when I'm only given the direction people to the left. They didn't look very alarmed. You're right. Candace mentioned another Pierre, Pierre Falcone. Is that the Pierre you were thinking? No, I was thinking of Pierre Omidyar. Omidayr. I wasn't necessarily going to go through all this guy's stuff, but I'll show you what I was born to do. This is great. I love this. It's like putting a puzzle together. I love puzzles. I actually just ordered some puzzles from Amazon the other day. Those little metal pieces, you got to figure out how to undo them. And so I went to law school. I got out of law school. I thought, this is what I'm born to do. This is what I'm born to do. And he said, you got to have your, you can see it that soon? I think there are some people that should not drink alcohol. I am responding to the scene up under there. I mean, that looks like real solar system that looked very different from the one we're looking at right now, meaning the positions the different planets are in. It was very different and within our own human story. So within the last several thousand years, the solar system looked incredibly different than it did now. And that's why you have, the beginning of time. I think I have a good explanation for where that came from. The waters above and below, I think I've got a good explanation for where that came from. But it would take too long to talk about today. But I think the earth is round, if that's what you're asking. For a bullet that struck an artery, there was a lot of blood, but it was just a flow. It wasn't like like I expected it to be. But I honestly, I've never been present when someone's been shot in the artery, so I don't really know. I only know like kind of what I in my mind think should happen. Thanks for the donation, Woofy. Martha, keep doing such amazing work. Fan of your show. Someday I'll have mine. I hope so. I hope you do a good job. I hope you do a great job. Shannon Spano. That's a combination of Shannon Doherty and Jesse Spano. Except that's a character name and an actress name. That doesn't quite work. I'm trying here. On your show yesterday while covering footage, I noticed the old man preacher in flannel standing behind Turek. It's been reported he was by the shrubs the whole time. In this shot, he's to Charlie's right near shrubs. So before the event, I think he did talk to the shrubs at one point. I never thought I would have to use those words in that order. Before the event, he appeared to be talking to shrubs. But during the event, he was standing back in that tunnel the whole time. That's not a preacher. That's the brother of a preacher. That's Butch Hibbs, brother of famed Calvary Chapel preacher Jack Hibbs. Yeah, that's Butch Hibbs. Everything truly is fake and gay. I couldn't have said it better myself, Ange. Couldn't have said it better myself. Unmasked Psych, thank you, Psyche. Like video, y'all. Oh, like the video. Yeah, go like the video, subscribe to the channel, share it with your buddies. Like, subscribe, share. He's flexing his, don't you use those ugly words on this show, young man, young lady. We're not going to talk about clitomastoids, sternocleidomastoids on this program. No, ma'am. This is a family show that runs along your neck, flexed when you move your jaw to the lower.
How to use SimilarWeb to uncover powerful marketing insights. SimilarWeb is a digital intelligence platform.
I'm probably going to stick with my normal Friday show because it's kind of a more intimate, smaller setting. A little more conversational. Slim, thank you. D. Bryce, thank you. D. Bruce, thank you. Mr. P.G. Whitaker II, in 2017, Flood was a fellow at the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC. I just asked AI if Dan ever worked in Israel. Oh, so we're taking AI's word for it now? That's where we are? I have to fact check AI all the time. So don't just take his word for it. Let's cite it somewhere else. Well, here's what you can do. When you do, because the AI will draw a lot of gaps. So you go to it and you say, ChatGPT or Grok or Claude or whoever you're talking to. Don't BS me. Only say something if you can prove it. Cite your sources. Here's my question. And usually they're pretty good at that point.
Storage space.